Eric, man, you must have been sitting there, finger on the trigger, bud. You were just like waiting to go. You're just like, come on. Not complaining at all, bud. Good to see you. Good to see you, bud. Hope things are going well for you, man. Hope the recovery goes well. I'm no lie, no word of a lie, major, glorious, absolutely beautiful to see you, bud. Absolutely beautiful to see you. I got home from work about an hour and a half ago. Yeah, maybe 2 hours ago, maybe. So I worked a shift today, so this is going to be pretty low energy. Yeah, last weekend was eventful. Skippy got in. Good to see you, Radio Halifax, bud. Good to see you. Yeah, Skippy got in. We all knew. I've been saying this whole time. I've been saying this whole time Skippy was going to get in. Come on, come on. Who doubted me? Anybody out there? Anybody out there being like, John's an idiot. Sheree's got this one. Right? We were all banking on Sheree, right? Remember when anyone was taking the idea that Sheree was going to win that fucking thing seriously? Right? And guys, feel free to fill me in. I'm not going to lie to you, okay? And I'm going to start being more honest about this on Mondays, okay? I'm not paying attention to the news over the weekend. I don't have the ability. I don't have the brain power. I don't have the capacity. Right? My life is capitalism over the weekend. I literally am grinding into the job that's paying the bills. I don't have I can flick on the news every so often, flicker it in. So if you think that there's something that I've missed, you let me know, okay? Because I'm quite serious. You're probably ahead of the game on me. And I'm going to be more honest. Monday, I'm trying to think of a good name for it. Moping Mondays, Mondays, something Mondays. Right, I should get Garfield with a communist sigil is what I should do, right? Well, good news. I think that COVID is no longer impacting my physical health. That's good to hear, Eric. But my endurance is now completely shot. I need to rebuild it. Yep. Today, finally back to doing the insanity workout. Good for you, man. Good for you. Miserable Monday. There's a good one. Maudlin Monday. All right. It's tough for me to hate Mondays because Mondays is actually my last day. So Mondays for me is my Friday, right? So it's hard for me to hate Mondays. Yeah, Lizzie's in a box. Yeah. I mean, good opportunity for us to point out, and I said this on Thursday. Lots of people have been going after the legacy and all of this, but to me, it's just she's just this edifice. I think that anybody would have acted the way that she acted in the position that she has. And you can see sort of the odd, it's odd. The whole thing is just fucking odd. To me, the Queen's death, the most interesting part will be when they actually have the funeral. We're going to see a number, right? They're going to put a number up. It's going to be something like $500 million, $1 billion. It's going to be some ridiculous number. That, to me, is when it's going to get really interesting. Because, the legacy of the Queen is actually the legacy of British imperialism. It's the legacy of British capitalism, right? She acted the way that I think any monarch would act during that period of time, right? And Major saying he's posted some Rand papers. Honestly, what we're gonna do today, guys, we're gonna listen to Pierre Poilievre and we're gonna talk about the bullshit that he's spreading out. Then we're gonna listen to Trudeau, right, and his criticism. And honestly, I think the big thing that people are immediately responding to, Pierre Poilievre sounds better than Trudeau. Straight up. He just sounds better. He looks better. I think people are sick and tired of seeing this floofy idiot's face, right? I think they're tired of hearing his breathy, non-committing, patronizing, go to sleep now kind of talking, right? Whereas Pierre Poilievre sounds like he knows what he's talking about, even though he doesn't, right? We're John Smith, how you doing? I don't know why people keep coming here, John. John is a liar and a shill. Everyone knows that Canadians aren't real, just like birds. And then isn't real typo. Well, that's quite the typo, John. That's right, John isn't a liar in this show. Or Canada, everyone knows Canada isn't real. Just like we're, you know what, John? I'm going to let it slide. I know you're joking around, bud. John, you see the video I posted where Ukrainian children are doing Nazi salutes as military vehicles go by? Bro, okay, let's get into the Discord. You guys. This is the Discord. Anybody, if you're not in the Discord, you just need to donate to the Patreon. Gets you in the Discord. Easy peasy. So, what do we got? We got Major. What are you sending me here, bud? I like the Department of State, CIA, NSA, Executive Summary. Bro, what is this? What you give me the synopsis, bud. If I'm doing this in real time, you got to give me the breakdown. And come on. Look, see how popular this place is? Everybody's posting everything all the time. I love that. Oh yes, Danny Haifong really did a really good breakdown. I've got it here in the Discord. Ligandes, I think this was you sharing it. Did a great breakdown of the Xinjiang report that came out of the UN, and really, like, it. I'm still so upset. I'm still so upset that they even thought including CIA sources was a good idea, right? Including CIA sources into that really discredits what's actually going on, you know? Like, how do you actually take this seriously? How do you take a report seriously if it's got CIA sources on it, you know? And I'm so disappointed by it. Oh yeah, there it is. That's fun. Yeah, we're just gonna casually do some Nazi salutes, right? Casual, just casually doing a normal thing. There's the Ukrainian flag. They're dressed in military gear at 10. Right? This kid's got a gun. Does this kid have a gun? Is that a serious, actual gun that this kid's walking around with? I can't tell. So I'm not going to... if it's not a real gun, it definitely is like a gun type thing. Hey, Tinker, how you doing, bud? Oh yeah, liberal media says the Nazi Ukrainians are winning using drones, right? Like, look, the only thing that matters in war is how much land you claim. Really. Like, if line move in direction, you win. Like, land is what matters. Territory is what matters, right? You can blow things up and bomb things and do all you want, right? And like, yeah, we're getting in there, we're using some drones, and that's gonna do that, right? Like, no war has been won using drones. Like, it's drones are good for reconnaissance, and we know there was a fellow, Daniel Hale, I think his name was. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he was a whistleblower from the drone program. He's doing like 4 years in prison for blowing the whistle on the drone program and pointing out that 90% of the time, something like 80-90% of the time, the drones weren't hitting the correct target, right? They were hitting civilian targets. They were hitting some other target, right? So this gives the drone program a reliability of like 20%, right? So 20% of the time they hit their target. Okay? So like really think about that, okay? Like you've got it means that the whole idea of using drones for combat is being pushed forward by a military industrial machine that is trying to sell products. Like, that's it. Like, they want drones on the battlefield, and they want people to be using drones, and they want to be doing drone kind of stuff because that means that they can sell drones, right? How effective they are doesn't matter. Like, the American presence on the world stage is so overwhelmingly powerful that it doesn't matter if they use ineffective weapons. It doesn't matter if they use ineffective gear, right? They're throwing so much money at the military. They're throwing so much money into this godless, endless war that it doesn't matter if what they do is ineffective, right? Because the enemy doesn't have like a fielded military, it doesn't have a fielded army, it doesn't have an air force. It can't defend, like it can't do any of that shit, right? So they can afford to field a drone warfare program that's completely ineffective. That's always been my takeaway from when I think his name is Daniel Hale, and ever since that leak, I've always sat here and thought to myself, oh, that means that the drone program is completely ineffective. It doesn't work. Like, if push came to shove and we were actually fighting a real, honest-to-God, like, war against actual targets, and we needed, like, reliable fire and we needed things to actually work, we wouldn't use drones. We would not use drones. Right? Like, and the more you think about how bad an idea it is to use drones, the more you can find flaws in the situation, right? Like, artillery fire, they can't requisition the shells and fire them back at you. But if they down a drone, right, they can figure out and they can kind of reconfigure a drone and get it figured out. Right, sending a drone in and because it's only 20% effective at hitting its target, right? It's completely unreliable. You can't actually do. You're better off just shelling the place with artillery fire from afar, right? Like why are drones more superior in the first place? And so this idea that like, oh, the Ukrainians have drones, right? It's just a propaganda pitch to make dumb people who like Elon Musk be like, wow, war is so techie now. Right? It's like Iron Man, you know, and it just doesn't fucking work. It doesn't actually work. So, Canada is a British Commonwealth psyop to make you think the British have power in North America. Wake up, sheeple! John, if you're going to say that kind of stuff, I have to insist that you use the proper term sheeple, okay? Like, it's very... That's my only criticism. All right, if you're gonna be speaking truth like this, right, and if you're gonna be speaking truth to power with such authority, I just got to tell you, people aren't gonna take you seriously, bud. If you're not saying sheeple, it's just the truth. It's just the truth. Yeah, exposing the U.S. military as anything but the Avengers. Yeah, last lands you in Gitmo. Yeah, I mean. If you're a whistleblower, you spend time in prison. It's unbelievable. It depends on the war. In Azeri-Armenian war, the drones were mainly effective against military targets, but Taliban terror organizations hide in villages. Yeah, I mean, like, I just feel like it's not very useful for urban warfare, which is what mainly these wars are getting into. Like, and anything is effective if you're just, like, in an open field, and it's like, yeah, there's the fucking military. Like, there it is, right? Anyway. Tinker's defending drones. Tinker's defending drones. He believes in the drones. You know what, Tinker? I'm not surprised. Your name is Tinker, right? I assume that's partially because you like to tinker. And I mean, you might be right. Like, it could possibly be that, like, it's just initial, like, first generation technology versus, like, fourth generation technology is going to be different. I'd like to see more on that, though. Actually, that's if anybody has anything on like the actual effectiveness of drones, I'd love to see that. I'd love to see that. All right. Okay, let me know immediately, guys. Can you hear this? My sound is so fucked up all the time, 100%. Let me know. Can you hear that?
Merci beaucoup. Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you. Merci, Anaïda. Je t'aime. I begin on behalf of everyone here,
What's happening?
expressing my sorrow at the passing of our beloved Queen. 2 tiny words, the Queen. Yet on every
real,
continent,
the Queen.
those 2
on,
words conjure up more than a picture.
Like, right away, the Queen. What is it with... Okay, dude, this is the one thing that is worth talking about with the death of the Queen. Like, why are conservatives, like, circle-jerking the Queen? Like, didn't people in North America, like, literally fight... I guess Canadians didn't, so it makes a type of sense. Like, we in Canada did not fight, like, this big war of independence. We didn't actually, like, go out of our way, right? Like our separation from the throne was more of a series of handshakes and nods and signings of papers, right? And very all like so from the conservative position, it's all like respectable, like nodding, and like she's on our money, so she's gonna mean something, right? Yeah. No, Poindexter thinks he can blame everything on big government. Privatize. Just wait and see. Yeah, you bet, bud. No, the shit that's gonna come out of this guy's mouth is gonna be astounding. Let's just watch, man. And DM, not to ignore what you're saying, man. Liberal MPs turn on Trudeau, call party too woke after Poilievre victory. Yeah, like Pierre Poilievre's victory should scare the shit out of the Liberals. It should scare the ever-loving shit out of the Liberals, right? That a guy like this is basically just like, this is all he's doing. He's just acknowledging that people are suffering. That's it. He literally has just walked into the room and been like, hey, all of the people who are suffering. Have you noticed? And that's it. That's all he's done. And like in a landslide victory. A bigger victory than O'Toole, a bigger victory than Scheer, landslide victory, has become the leader of this party. And as much as the liberals and the liberal media and all those kind of guys are going to talk about how unelectable this guy is, you're going to see a lot of articles about that, right? The truth is that if all he does is stand up and say, hey, have you noticed how your bills are through the roof? Vote Poilievre. I'll do it. I'll help. Right? If that's all he says, he's going to win. Right? And the longer Trudeau does nothing, because that's what Trudeau is doing. Right? Like, Trudeau is doing nothing. He's looking at the Bank of Canada and saying, the Bank of Canada is going to fix this problem. The Bank of Canada is turning around and just raising interest rates, which, since when does that have anything to do with corporations raising prices? Which is what inflation actually is. Right? So, Trudeau's doing nothing. Like, literally nothing. Pierre Poilievre is standing up and acknowledging that there's a problem and saying, I have solutions, and his solutions are daft as shit, right? His solutions are daft. Like, they're dumb, and we're going to definitely see how dumb this guy is. Not dumb, like, it's just so obviously grifted. Like, you have to be thick to actually believe that any of this stuff works, right? He has Harper's backing, so Harper may be advising him in the next election. Oh, yeah, dude. No, Harper will be advising conservatives until Harper dies. For sure. I smell a non-confidence vote against Trudeau from his own party come November. No need to wait for 2025. We'll see about that. Trudeau has proven time and time again that he's fairly agile within his own party. Like, that's something that is true about Trudeau, because he sees where the wind is blowing, right? Like, he sees where the wind is blowing. He knows that if things are gonna not go his way, and it requires him to just say other words, he'll just say the other words. That's what he's always done, right? Like, he doesn't have things like, he doesn't have principles, you know? Like, Trudeau doesn't have principles. If the people in his own party start grumbling loud enough and start saying, he keeps saying these words, and we would prefer it if he said these words, then he'll just say those words. Like, that's all it'll take. Hey, Adam, how you doing, bud? I won't be worried about PP until he's elected or until Trudeau is pushed right, which a Liberal MP has suggested, so I guess I should start to worry now. Yeah. I mean, what are we here to do if not witness the descent of capitalism and the descent of the species in real time, Adam? Come on. I have a climate change article here that's just going to scare the shit right out of you. But until then, let's listen to what PP has to say about the Queen. Oh, it's the Queen of England.
They also express an idea.
Here we go.
The idea of decency, and duty.
Duty.
Elizabeth II, though she might have recoiled at the thought, was the world's most famous woman. Yet she was our queen, our sovereign, for almost half of our nation's existence. In her 22 visits here, yes, indeed.
And I love it.
In her 22 visits here and her dealings with 13 prime ministers, she exhibited the virtues we most cherish: dignity, civility, humility, candor, and above all else, service. That's why her death,
taking lots of money from
though not unexpected,
don't forget about that,
is nonetheless shocking. We felt we knew her. We felt that her strengths were ours, the strengths of a country which by good fortune and God's grace we call home.
But listen to his voice, eh? He's got a good voice. He sounds good. He looks good,
and that,
right?
Perhaps, is why I feel a small catch in my throat when I utter the words that no leader has stated in this country for over 7 decades. God save the king.
He's younger than Harper, too, but you're right about that. He's not, I mean, okay, look. Harper's not that smart. Right? This is something that kind of bugs me a little bit. Like, Stephen Harper is still an evangelical Christian. Right? He still thinks that Jesus Christ is coming back at any moment, right? He still thinks that the Muslims are this great terror, right? That we should fight a crusade against them, right? All this kind of crazy, dumbass shit. So, like, Harper's strength as a leader was that he managed to get a lot of different groups to cooperate. That's really what Harper managed to do. He managed to take corporate business, like rural farmer types, Christian evangelicals, and there was another block. Oh yeah, and like reformists, like the Reform Party, which he was part of, and actually like bind them together, right? That was his big thing. Uh-oh, I said crusade. John's off onto the crusades already. Jesus. Keep calling PP the smart Trump. Yeah, it's true, actually. That's not a bad analogy, because, like, he lies just as much, right? He's more effective at it. Like, his lies are very believable. Like, Trump will say audacious shit, whereas Pierre doesn't really say audacious shit, although I suspect we're about to see some of that.
Tonight begins the journey to replace an old government that costs you more and delivers you less with a new government that puts you first, your paycheck, your retirement, your home, your country.
That's good rhetoric. It is. It's good rhetoric. And he says it well. It comes easy, right? I think you're right, Eric, man. Like, he could be the next prime
tackling
minister.
liberal inflation, we'll put you back in control of your life and your money. Le travail commence ce soir pour remplacer ce vieux gouvernement qui vous coûte plus cher et qui vous apporte moins avec un nouveau gouvernement qui vous place en premier votre chèque de paie, votre retraite, votre maison, votre pays.
Now. It's politics for you, man. You gotta shake babies.
En nous attaquant à l'inflation,
kiss hands.
Nous vous redonnerons le contrôle de votre argent et de votre vie. And it is about you.
We are inclusive.
This is not my victory, it is yours, and I have so many people to thank. Merci à ceux et celles qui m'ont soutenu et qui se sont portés volontaires pour cette victoire. Merci aux autres candidats d'avoir renouvelé notre parti. Thank you to Scott Aitchison for running on ideas like simplifying and lowering taxes. Thank you very much, Scott.
Oh, simplifying and lowering taxes. Yeah, classic conservatism. Very popular. Don't pay for anything.
Thank you to Roman Baber for standing up for and making sacrifices for freedom for everybody.
Well, here he is, coalition building. Right? These are people who are in opposition to him.
And thank you to his wonderful partner Nancy for championing children with autism. Thank you.
Let's see what he says about Charest. Is he going to mention Charest?
Thank you to Leslyn Lewis for standing for family, faith, and freedom.
Right, bringing people back into the fold. You know, we forgive you. We were enemies and now we're friends, right?
And to her husband, John, for supporting her along the way. Yes. And thank you. And thank you to Jean Charest for your service to our country.
There you go. How gracious. Honestly, like, how gracious, right? Jean Charest was obviously a liberal plant. It was so everybody knew it.
And for ensuring that we still have a country that is united in which we can call ourselves home. Thank you for fighting for Canada, Jean, when the nation's back was against the wall in the 1995 referendum. You stood with courage and passion. You defended our country, and our nation will ever be grateful for your work.
Wow, like really doubling in on Jean Charest. That's actually like, that's a signal to a moderate position. Because the thing that they're trying to peg Polyev with all the time, they're trying to constantly peg him as an extremist, right? They're trying to constantly put him on the far right. That you can see with the media.
Ça fait à peu près 40 ans que Jean est en politique, au niveau provincial et fédéral. Et c'est dur. Mais souvent, les vrais héros, c'est pas les candidats, c'est leur famille. And that's why I recognize Michelle. For those 4 decades, there have been countless occasions when her husband was fighting causes on behalf of all of us, when you had to carry the extra load and take the extra sacrifice, countless invisible sacrifices, and we as a nation, we as a party, we thank you, Michelle. Merci beaucoup.
Freeland's going to join NATO. That's what's going to happen, right? That, let's say the Conservatives actually bounce the Liberals. I actually think that Freeland isn't going to stick around in the Liberal Party. I think she's going to jump ship and she's going to join like the Security Council for NATO, right? That there's been a rumor floating around and somebody asked her about it and she didn't deny it. She didn't say like, no, that's not something. She kind of was like, yeah, okay. So Freeland might literally be taking her Nazism and bringing it to a more kind of a proper place, right? Might as well go to the Nazi organization, right?
Cool.
Yeah, Trump makes enemies while he's trying to build friendships. Yeah.
To supporters of all of these fine candidates, I open my arms to you. Now, today, we are one party serving one country.
Unity. One party, one country, under one white party, under God.
Most importantly, thank you to my brilliant and beautiful wife. Merci à ma belle et brillante épouse.
What a charm. This is for us. This is for us. Just to let us know he loves his wife. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Pour avoir été mon ancre, mon pilier, tout au long de cette folle aventure. Tu as rendu cela possible. Tu es ma meilleure amie et l'amour de ma vie.
No idea what he's saying, but I assume it's beautiful as shit. I assume it's the most lovely
À
shit.
la famille d'Anaïda qui a pris soin de nos enfants lorsque nous étions sur la route. Vous avez rendu cela possible. Muchas gracias a la familia de mi esposa y por su contribución a Canadá.
Hey, here we go. Straight up throwing some Spanish in there. Well done. Well done.
So that's all the Spanish I speak. If you ever come over to our house for one of our grand family gatherings, it's usually 20 Latinos and Latinas arguing, telling jokes, telling stories in Spanish,
right,
and one guy standing around having no idea what anyone else is saying.
And then straight up admit it's all the Spanish he knows.
My wife's family not only...
And then tell like the whitest white man story ever, right? That was the whitest white man story you will ever hear anyone absolutely... Yeah, for the Gusanos, absolutely, Liganzi. I'm right there with you, bud. But I love that he like did it and then just immediately was like, but guys, come on. I'm like, I'm pretty white. So, you know? So far, I gotta tell you, as a rural Manitoban, I think this is real charming. This guy's a charmer. What a sweetheart this guy is, right? Oh man, he's got a nice haircut. He looks real good. He looks sharp. Sounds good. He loves his wife. Right? He's gracious in victory, right? I could see this guy as the leader. You know what? This guy, compare him to, my name is Justin Trudeau. I'm here to legalize weed and pretend like things matter to me.
They raised this incredible woman, but they came to this country from Venezuela with almost nothing. And they have since started businesses, raised kids, served in the military, and like so many immigrant families, built our country. And I want to thank, yes.
Of course, he's a hypocrite to criticize the WE.
I want to thank my brother Patrick, my father Don, his partner Ross, my mother Marlene, and even my biological mother Jackie is here today. Yes.
That's odd. Hold on, wait a minute. Biological mother? What the heck is going on? Right? What the heck is going on? Now, come on, DM. There was a moment where Pierre was part of the WEF, but I bet you anything he would just say like, "Yeah, it was in the early days of my career. It was a young man's mistake." That's what he would say. That's what I would tell him to say. Like if I was backing this guy up and this guy got backed into the corner on the WEF position, right? I would for sure just tell him, be like, young man's mistake, right? I ask for your forgiveness, but I've seen the light of day. Come to Jesus moment. There you go. It was 2021. Do you have a source, Adam? I'd like to see something myself, actually, because I'm almost positive that you're right, but it would be nice to see something. So if you could bring something up, that would be really great. He was adopted. I didn't know that. Holy shit, look at this. We're all learning stuff together. And I gotta tell you, makes me like him more. Gives him some character. Gives him a little roughness around the edges, right? You gotta remember who we're comparing this guy to, right? We're comparing this guy to Prince Pompey Pants over here, right? We're comparing this guy to like the Captain Foofy hair, right? The Dumb and Dumber haircut that he's actually letting grow out, right? Like, don't you love how they did the Dumb and Dumber haircut, but now check him out? He's like, no, guys. Dumb and Dumber haircut's over, right? We're not doing that anymore. So he wants to go back to Captain Foofy Pants, right? And that's what's going to happen. All right.
We're a complicated and mixed up bunch, like most families.
That's probably true.
Like our country. I want to thank my parents, though.
Yeah, dude, come on. That's not... Anybody could beat this guy up in a boxing ring. Are you kidding me? Like, anybody could. This guy's Milhouse. Look at this guy. This guy's Milhouse from The Simpsons. Don't fuck around with me, guys. Right? Tinkerbell Sparkle Socks Trudeau. Yeah, John... Well, okay, come on, man. John Tory in his prime could... All right, if you wanna talk this way, you gotta talk fair. Okay, you gotta put people in their prime against people in their prime, right? Like you can't take like Muhammad Ali today and put him up against like Lennox Lewis right now. That's not fair. And should a sequence of events occur in which John Tory would fight Pierre Poilievre in a boxing ring, I think it would be completely reasonable for John Tory to like pick a person to fight Pierre Poilievre. I think that would be fair. Those are the rules, aren't they? Those are the rules. Like you're allowed to demand trial by combat and then put in, right? That's how it works.
In particular, I want to thank my parents, 2 school teachers who adopted me from a teenage mother. They taught me that it didn't matter where I came from, but where I was going. It didn't matter who I knew, but what I could do. That is the hope I want my kids to inherit.
He's doing a really smart thing here that I think is really subtle, but really intelligent of him. I've heard him do this on more than one occasion. He's responding to criticisms that are accurate, that he's never worked a real job, right? Like he basically went to university and then immediately joined Harper's caucus and has essentially stayed there. So he's never actually worked a real job. He's not working class. Like he isn't working class. He's of the political class. He's a landlord, right? He owns properties, all this kind of stuff. It's a very it's an accurate critique of Pierre Poilievre, and he's responding to it by pointing out that he was raised by 2 school teachers, right? So he's trying to maintain this working class kind of, I ascended the meritocracy kind of line, right? That like, I was raised by 2 school teachers, working class people. They instilled me with values and all this kind of stuff. I think it's very clever of him because I think it'll be very effective. All right, people are really, really trying to get away from Foofy Pants McFoofy Pants here, right? Like, this guy was raised by a literal prime minister, right? Like, his dad was the fucking prime minister. People see him as detached and elite because he is, almost by definition. No, not even almost by definition. By definition, he's elite and he's detached, right? So anything Pierre Poilievre can do to convince you that he's not elite or detached, even though he spent the vast majority of his life in a very elite upper echelon of the society, is going to be a real win for him. And so far, so effective, if you ask me. I'm looking forward to hearing some of his claims. When he starts saying what some of his solutions are going to be, because his solutions are going to be batshit. They're just going to be wonky bullshit. That's right. Old people clapping. That's what we need to see. Hold on. I'm just gonna quickly. Look at how fucking tired this guy looks. Look at how tired this guy looks. He's just like, just fucking get on with it. Anemone, how you doing?
But that hope has melted into worry for many.
Oh, here we go.
Today, people feel like they've lost control of their pocketbooks and their lives. The cost of government is driving up the cost of living. This liberal government...
The cost of government is driving up the cost of living. The cost of government is driving up the cost of living. Oh, man. They're just gonna die on the hill, eh? They're just gonna die on the hill of Reaganism. They're just gonna, like, they're gonna climb the hill. Like, Stephen Harper... No, it's like literally like Brian Mulroney begins climbing the hill of, like, Reagan Thatcherism, has a baby named Stephen Harper, who continues the ascent. And now Harper has had a little baby, Pierre Polyev, and they're just, oh yeah, that's right. He was adopted, right? And yeah, it's a fucking death cult, right? Like, trickle down doesn't work because we haven't done it hard enough, right? I keep punching this guy in the face, but he doesn't turn to gold. I'll just punch him in the face harder. He'll turn to gold eventually, right? It's just as logical. It makes just as much fucking sense. And they're just gonna die on the hill. Like, it's the cost of government. That's what's doing it. Government's so expensive, and that's raising the cost of living. Certainly not corporations raising prices, which is exactly what it is.
Government has doubled our national debt, adding more debt than all previous governments combined. That means another $500 billion bidding up the cost of the goods we buy and the interest we pay. Inflationary taxes increase those costs further.
Inflationary taxes. Like, literally, taxes have never been lower, and this guy's walking around being like, it's taxes are a problem. It's taxes are a problem. Dude, we've never had corporate taxes lower than this. Like, Justin Trudeau, I think, raised taxes on, like, individual ownership, and, like, recently they put in, like, a 1% tax or something like this on, like, luxury goods above $100,000 or something. Right? And this guy's walking around still pretending. And it's exactly for the old guard. This old guard are like, that's right, taxes. It's taxes. And if you went up to that guy and actually asked him, like, hey, how much does a house cost? And you, like, put the mic in front of him. A house costs 43 cents in a pack of chewing gum. That's exactly what would happen. Like, these people are like, their brains have melted into pudding. And they're just like, I'm voting conservative because in 1923, when I was getting started, Governor McGovern came and gave me a penny. And that penny turned into 1,000,000 horses. Like, just like... Adam McPherson, you're probably the smartest guy here. Oh, that's nice. That's nice. What a nice thing to say. But people who vote for PP are racist neoliberal capitalists. No hope for them. I mean, racist neoliberal capitalists, certainly. I don't really want to get into the race conversation, frankly. I just, like, they're certainly imperialists, and imperialists by their very definition are racist. So fine, Tinker. Fine. Yeah, everybody should get into drone manufacturing. Here we go. Tinker's all about drone manufacturing, right? Yeah, in it for the money and the power. Yeah, just another politician. Absolutely. Absolutely. It got... you know what I think is so funny about this? What I think is so funny Like, I really want to point this out to both you, Adam, and DM, is that this is the most polite disagreement I've ever seen in my life. Like, you two are just having, like, a little, like, DM's just like, Pierre, I think that Pierre has said that he does not like the WEF. And Adam is going, no, I think it's actually that he is part of the WEF and has only since turned that position recently. Well, you know, I haven't seen that myself, Adam, so if you could provide something for that, that'd be really nice, if you could. And then Adam's like, well, you know, I'm going to go ahead and do that, but he did claim, you know, to be the... Well, you know what, I've got a bit of a migraine coming on, so I just can't keep it up, you know, Adam, so we're just going to have to agree to disagree. That's the nicest argument I've ever seen on the... Well done. Just absolutely well done. Very good, but applause to both of you. Civility, for God's sakes, civility. Meanwhile, Wayne Virgo having a stroke. How you doing there, Wayne? You doing okay? That might be a pocket thing. I feel like there's a pocket thing. Yes, this is how adults agree to disagree, and you love to see it. You really do. Okay, speaking of adults watching children, although that doesn't matter. Segue.
Plan to triple the carbon tax on gas, heat, and everything else.
Carbon tax, dude. This is why the carbon tax is a bad idea, right? Is that, first of all, it didn't work, right? So that's a problem. But also, it's just given guys like this fodder the whole time, right? Instead of, like, nationalizing the fucking thing, right? Just nationalizing the goddamn thing, chasing these losers out of the conversation, right?
Le coût du gouvernement.
Adam, come on. By internet standards, that's just like a polite
Ce gouvernement a
hello.
ajouté à notre dette nationale plus que tous les autres gouvernements dans l'histoire de notre pays. Ça veut dire 500 milliards de dollars qui ajoutent à l'inflation et aux augmentations des taux d'intérêt. C'est le gouvernement le plus cher dans notre histoire. It is the most expensive government in history. And the more they spend, the more things cost. The result.
Every government's the most expensive government in history, right? Like, how do you have an infinite growth model with a state that supports that growth without having it also grow alongside the capitalist economy, right? So standing up and saying, Baldy McNosehair, what a sweetheart. Good opportunity to say, give me money. Everybody just give me money. Everybody give me money right now. That's going to make my life a lot easier, make my life a lot better, and Baldy McNosehair contributing to the cause. Thank you, good sir. I appreciate that. I appreciate that, bud. Thank you. What the hell was I just saying about... Oh, yeah, like, every government is going to... Can you imagine what it would look like if a subsequent government to the one that was in the past, actually shrank, right? Do you know what that would be? That would be a fucking catastrophe. That would be a literal recession. It would be an actual recession. And perhaps a depression, right? And this guy standing there being like, this is the most expensive government ever. And it's like, it has to be by definition. By the definition of how your system, the system that you defend, the system that you want to continue supporting. And what's so fucked up is that we all know what he's going to do. We all know what he's going to do. He's going to do the same thing that Stephen Harper did, right? Stephen Harper went in there being like, we're going to balance that budget and make sure everything's good and we're going to shrink the town. He immediately spent like billions of dollars in deficit spending because that's how you run a fucking government. That's how you actually do it, right? This idea that you can just like, we're just going to slash the economy and that'll grow the economy is just baby talk. Because he's talking to babies and he knows he's talking to babies. PP, just get a job, doesn't understand basic economics. Of course not, right?
Result? Families downgrade their diets to cover the 10% year-over-year jump in food prices. Seniors delay their retirements and watch their life savings evaporate with inflation. 30-year-olds who did everything we asked them to do, got degrees, worked hard, are trapped in 400-square-foot apartments, or worse, their parents' basements, because house prices have doubled under this government.
Only doubled, eh?
And those who do own homes are paying more interest on their mortgages, even though this government promised interest rates would not rise for years. Les mères monoparentales mettent de l'eau dans le lait de leurs enfants pour pouvoir se permettre la hausse de 10% de la nourriture d'une année à l'autre.
Source of those problems?
Les personnes âgées
Government.
voient leurs économies s'évaporer avec l'inflation. Des jeunes de 30 ans qui ont fait tout ce que nous avons demandé d'eux, obtenir un diplôme, travailler fort, vivre dans le sous-sol de leurs parents parce que les prix des maisons ont doublé. Et ceux qui ont une maison et davantage d'intérêt pour leur hypothèque. No wonder people are worried. Most are lucky to be just getting by. Many are falling behind. And there are people in this country who are just hanging on by a thread. These are citizens of our country. We are their servants. We owe them hope. They don't need a government that sneers at them, looks down on them, calls them names. They don't need a government to run their lives. They need a government that can run a passport office. They need a prime minister who hears them and offers them hope that they can, again, afford to buy a home, a car, pay their bills, afford food, have a secure retirement, and God forbid, even achieve their dreams if they work hard. They need a prime minister who will restore that hope, and I will be that prime minister.
That's very effective, right? That last, 10 seconds right there, that's very, very effective. People are going to respond to that. You get him on a stage, on a national stage.
We will rekindle the hope that people's paychecks and savings can again buy a decent life. We will make government affordable so that life is affordable. We'll cap spending and cut waste.
And this slogan that he's using is a very good slogan, right? What is it? Government affordable to make life affordable, right? That's a very good, effective slogan that he's using. And I'm actually really impressed with that slogan. That's a great slogan.
To reverse inflationary deficits and taxes. That includes axing new taxes on your paycheck, gas, heat, and other essentials.
Axing taxes, right? Because that's definitely something that the poorest people in the country are definitely paying, right? That they're definitely paying taxes, right? It's a plea to the quote unquote middle class that doesn't really exist anymore.
It means fighting climate change with technology and not with taxes.
Fighting climate change with technology, not with taxes. That's actually a cool statement, right? It's kind of dumb because it's once again this capitalist grift of we've got to sell a product, and you guys know my position on this, right? We're gonna know this. We're gonna go through the WEF thing, guys. We're gonna go through the WEF. You guys are posting lots of stuff in the Discord, right? Where have you guys been posting this? Has it just been in the general? Yeah, here we go. We got some stuff in the general, right? We're gonna go through it because I'm interested in it too, honestly, right? Yeah, it is. It's simple but effective because it doesn't need to be complex. What's happening is not that complex, right? And he's being so effective at turning the auspice of the public away from the problem, right? That the problem is that corporations are raising prices. That's the problem, right? And he's doing a very effective job at turning away the eye of Sauron, the eye of the public, away from that onto the government is the problem, right? And why it's so effective is that the liberals are also turning that eye away from corporations are raising the prices. And the liberals are playing a game of, this is just like the natural way the market has gone, right? The war in Ukraine, right? They're finding other scapegoats, right? That oh, this is out of our control and this is a global phenomenon, right? Like it's not us. Like if you actually think about it, we're actually managing this a lot better than everybody else, right? That's how the liberals are talking about it. So the liberals are also turning it away, which opens the door for Pierre to do this. Meanwhile, like, Jagmeet Singh is off in the corner being like, hey, corporations are raising prices, like, every so often, instead of like, hey, capitalism is the crisis, like, corporations are raising prices, we know that they are, here's the proof, right?
We will restore hope that hard work will again pay off. Do you know that today, if a single mom with 3 kids earning $55,000 a year goes out and earn another dollar, she loses 80 cents of it to taxes and clawbacks, so she can't get ahead. I will reform programs and cut taxes so that when that single mother and people like her earn more, they keep more, and hard work always pays off in this country.
Yeah, PP is more like Harper. Yeah, the comparison to Trump I don't think is actually
que le travail devient payant de nouveau, en réformant les programmes et en réduisant les impôts
dental, please ignore
pour que les gens gardent l'argent qu'ils gagnent pour leur famille plutôt que de tout perdre au gouvernement. Instead of creating more cash, let's create more of what cash buys. Think of it. If you've got 10 loaves of bread and $10, well, it's $1 a loaf.
Oh, here you go.
If you double the number of dollars to 20, but you still have 10 loaves of bread, well, then it's $2. You see, spending more doesn't get us more. We need to make more. So instead of doubling the money, let's double the bread. Yes.
All right. That analogy isn't that tight, but I think that's going to be kind of effective, right? Like, don't print money, make jobs, right? Stop printing money. Let's build something, right? Like, I think that's an effective strategy, right?
Remove the government gatekeepers to build more homes, grow more food, and produce more energy right here in Canada.
Produce more energy right here in Canada. What that means is a constant conservative complaint is that we get oil from the tar sands and then we send it to America, or we send it away, right? We send it overseas or something, right? So he's talking about creating refineries and doing it all here. It's a plea to nationalism, right? Is really what it is. And people are going to defend it by saying that's going to build jobs, that's going to create wealth within the country, right? And it's effective. That's an effective argument. You know, people are going to be sold by that kind of thing. No, exactly. But Anemone, you're absolutely right. It is all a lie, right? And moreover, he knows it's a lie, right? He understands how the system works a little bit better than this, right? And like, come on, DM. You've got to know that this guy is being disingenuous, right? Like, he's not operating on your behalf, right? He's not going to, though. Come on, DM. I love you, bud. I really do. You're like one of my favorites. You're one of the guys that come in. You're a big cheerleader for me. I absolutely love it. You gotta know that he's bullshitting you, right? Like, come on. Like, he's absolutely not telling you the truth. That he is absolutely working on behalf of corporate power. Every decision he's making is just a salesman pitch to try to convince you to continue going along with a selling out of the public to corporate power, to the oligarchy that exists, who he works for, right? And that's why I'm not that, like, I don't care that much about the WEF, right? I actually don't care that much about the WEF. You guys seem to care about the WEF, so we're going to go through that, right? Because I'm interested in what you guys are interested in, for sure. But my position on the WEF connection is it's not that relevant. His connection to people like the Irvings, the Thompsons, the Westons, that's way more important, right? That's way more important. Because that's the Canadian oligarchy, right? That's the Canadian oligarchy. Like, the WEF is just like a think tank. It's just like a thinking group where they say things and all that kind of stuff, but they're not actually, like, passing legislation, right? They're not actually putting that shit down. Unless our politicians are working class people, they don't care about us. It's that simple, exactly. If your relation to production is owning it, you are detached from reality. That's exactly right. Anemone just keeping it right on the ground, man. Keeping it feet planted firmly on the ground. That's absolutely the truth. And it does. And what's terrible, like what's kind of horrifying about it, is that it doesn't matter how well-meaning such a person might be, right? Like, let's say someone like Pierre Poilievre gets in, right? And he's like trying to be the nicest guy in the world. And he's trying to actually follow through, and he's actually trying to help people. Well, the reality is that he's an owner. He's an owner of the society. He owns, he's on that side of it. And so his perspective is never going to connect with the working class. Yeah, let's all have a moment for Bumbleguppy. I actually miss Bumbleguppy too. You know, Bumbleguppy was a real nice fella. He always said really beautiful things. You know, I hope he's doing well too. Wherever you are, Bumbleguppy, out there in the world, bud, I hope you're doing really well. God bless you. All right.
We need to restore the hope of home ownership. Right now, youth and newcomers can't get a home because local government gatekeepers block housing with heavy fees and long delays for building permits, leaving us with the fewest houses per capita of any country in the G7.
Forget about the house hoarding, right? Forget about the corporate home ownership. Forget about BlackRock. Forget about any of that, right? That's it. Once again, look at the smug fucking look on his face right now, dude. What a smug dick. Right.
Even though we have the most land to build on, a Poilievre government will require big cities that want federal infrastructure money to speed up and lower the cost of permits to approve affordable housing around all transit stations so that our young people can live there and don't even need to afford a car. We will also...
Like, all he's trying to do is get you to buy in to the idea of them handing your money over to corporations, right? Like, they want to put, like, if you're a corporate construction company, you want the government to merge with you and just continue funneling money into your never-ending projects, right? Your never-ending projects. So we'll
sell off 15% of the underutilized 37,000 federal buildings to turn them into housing and use the proceeds of sale to reduce our deficit. In other words, stop printing money, start building homes for our people. Speaking of homes, we must make stuff here at home again, here in Canada. Look, trade is great. Trade is just great. But we learned during COVID that we can't count on the rest of the world to take care of us. That is why we must be the best place on earth for workers and businesses to build factories, mine critical minerals for electric cars, and develop other resources. Right now, we lose wages because we import 130,000 barrels of overseas oil, mostly from dictators, every single day, even though we have the third largest supply right here in Canada. And that is all because our government prefers dirty dictator oil to responsible Canadian energy.
Dirty dictator oil. Man alive, dude. Like, man alive. Like... It's a good move. It's a good move, okay? Like, it's a good move for Pierre Poilievre to call it dirty dictator oil, because there's a bunch of rural Albertan, Saskatchewan, Manitoban prairie folk going, that's right, that's dirty dictator oil. We got that oil here. We can take care of that oil. Like, forget about the fact that people like Maduro, that's who we're talking about, right? We're talking about Maduro, like we're talking about Putin, right? We're talking about these guys, right? Forget about the fact that they're not dictators, right? Like, Maduro can, like, I don't know what dictator continuously wins elections that are challenged, but okay, that's fine. And he just doesn't point out, like, these fucking rural farmer types, they're just like, we got all this oil, we should use it. Like, the oil that exists in Canada is the shittiest oil is the shittiest oil possible. It costs so much to refine that oil. It is a enormous process to get access to that oil. The oil that's coming out of Venezuela is like turning on a tap, right? It's just like coming out of a tap. Like, yep, you want some oil? I got oil, right? Like, we're having to take a lunk of rock out of the ground that we strip mine, right, out of the earth, and like put it through a processing unit and like blast it with chemicals and like trillions of gallons of like for real, it's like a Looney Tunes cartoon. It's like a Looney Tunes cartoon where they take like a tree and then eventually at the end it becomes a single toothpick and there's this whole like process, right? It's exactly the same thing. Whereas like Venezuela, they're just literally like boink, squeak, 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 oil. But John, Venezuela owns their oil companies, so they're dirty dictators, according to PP. And a lot of conservative voters, dude. A lot of conservative voters, man. Like, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. Like, you know, Major, you bring up a really interesting thing. I remember Major put a video in the Discord about Pierre Poilievre talking about the MAID program. And the way that Pierre Poilievre was talking about that program sounded a lot like me talking about that program. And it was very... He did, like, and the reason why I didn't think he was lying is that he didn't have a reason to, right? Like, every time he said, I was just like, yeah, like, there's no reason for him, there's no, like, corporate reason for him to stand around and be like, yeah, the MAID system can be used this way. And, like, here's a guy who literally always says, like, literally, is saying now, in front of your face, government's the problem, we need to shrink the government, right, sell assets, all this kind of stuff. But he gives this speech in the House where he says, like, yeah, in this case, like, we got to make sure that disabled people and people in these positions have access to everything they need. Now, that's a fine thing to say if you're the member of the opposition, right? Like, that's a fine thing to say when you don't actually have to sign the paperwork and do the negotiations. But it was pretty convincing, honestly. Like, and on that point, Major, like, because at base, there's still humanity here, right? There's still humans involved in this, right? Pierre Poilievre isn't a robot, although he looks like a pretty fucking pretty good, right? If I was going to build a robot and try to make him run for office, he would look a lot like this. Absolutely. But I really, if you're in the Discord, seek this out, because he's, like, Pierre Poilievre sounded very effective in that speech. But that's the thing about Pierre Poilievre, is that he's very effective, right? And so it's very difficult to discern between what is a lie and what is the truth, right? Unless he tells, like, the really big bald-faced lies, like he just did. Like, oh, it's dictator oil from a democratically elected government. But that's okay.
We will repeal this government's anti-energy laws and replace them with a law that protects our environment, consults First Nations, and gets things built.
Gets things built, right?
We will greenlight Newfoundland and Labrador's planned increase in oil production, which will allow us to fully replace every single barrel of oil we're importing from abroad. And within 5 years, we will set the goal to end dictator oil in Canada altogether.
Dude, end dictator oil is brilliant. And by the way, Wayne, I called it, man. I called it. It's on the record. Everyone can go back. Everyone can go back in this video and take a look. I called it, bud. I was either you were having a stroke or you were dialing with your butt. Called it. I'm glad that it was your butt and not your stroke. I gotta tell you. Yeah, and Major, man, MAID is a big issue for me too. Like we are, like, it feels very eugenicist. It feels very, like, creepy. It's creepy. Like, we're standing there saying, like, we're doing this out of compassion, but it's got this kind of dead-eyed stare about it almost, where it's like a person standing there with a scalpel or like a needle full of chemicals being like, we're doing this because we love you know? It's got that kind of vibe about it. I'm just, like, not down. I'm not down to live in a culture that's not doing everything it can to ensure that our disabled citizens have the resources they need to live a fulfilling life. and instead we're just showing them the door, right? To, hey, here, you could go kill yourself. We love you. Wow. Yeah, the Orientalism for sure.
Et au lieu d'aider Poutine à vendre son gaz naturel à l'Europe pour financer sa guerre contre l'Ukraine, un gouvernement poilièvre soutiendra des projets comme GNL Québec. Nous savons tous que...
No, Tinker, the issue isn't letting people die in a painless way if the circumstances are right? Like terminal illness. It is about the MAID program and how we are getting stories where people are saying, like, I don't necessarily, like, I feel like I have a problem that's resolvable. Like, we read an article on this channel that was about a woman who essentially had allergies to chemicals and she couldn't get away from them, and it was making her mad. Essentially, it was driving her crazy, and so she just does MAID, literally saying on camera and releasing it, saying, "I don't want to commit suicide, but I have no alternative, and no one's helping me." Right? You and I can come to an agreement on this, right? Like, if someone has, like, terminal brain cancer and every day they wake up and it's just searing headaches and they think to themselves, you know what, I'm only going to be here for a couple more months anyway. This blows. I'd like to go. Come on, right? Like, let's get to the end of this. Fine, right? Let's send them out on the ice floe, right? Let's plunge them into the water. Let's do what needs to be done. We can come to an accord on this. Right? But that's not what's happening. Right? That's not what's happening. That what's happening is going beyond that. And that and I think it is fair to point out that it is inappropriate what is occurring. And that it is going into the next level, which has a kind of eugenicist sort of a vibe to it. Like and my concern is that what the liberal government is doing, and what subsequent governments are doing, is that they're using positions like yours, which is coming from a place of empathy and compassion. It's coming from a position where you're saying, yeah, like, here's they're in pain, they're not coming back, like they don't have an escape strategy, right? It's like they're not going to suddenly get healed. Jesus isn't going to come in and be like, you're healed, get up, baby, right? That's not going to happen, right? So here is us giving a compassionate position, saying, hey, we're going to end your suffering. We're going to with your consent, move forward with this and make it legal. No muss, no fuss, no trouble for anybody, right? So they're taking people like you who have that position, which is a completely understandable position, and they're sneaking through this very dark aspect that we are seeing play out over and over and over again. Right? That people are heading towards the MAID program while simultaneously saying, the problem that I have is solvable. I would like to continue living, but this is what I need to have that happen, but that's not happening. Right? I also think that it's wildly inappropriate that people in the healthcare industry, that anybody, honestly, can suggest the MAID program to people. I feel like that's wildly inappropriate. That like a doctor, a nurse, an orderly can basically look at somebody and go, you could just go kill yourself. I think that's wildly inappropriate. Like, if someone comes to a doctor and says, I want to use the medical assisted dying program, that's one thing. But for a doctor to basically look at a patient and be like, yeah, you could just kill yourself, I think that's wildly inappropriate. And the way the law has worked now, they can absolutely do that. And we have all kinds of testimony that's saying that is the case, and that is what's being said to these people. Yeah, Doug Ford and cons like PP are destroying your healthcare in order to privatize it, not the MAID program. I mean, I think the MAID program is like right on that edge of being a eugenicist program. Like, I think it's right there.
Que les Québécois ont une source d'énergie propre, l'hydroélectricité, qu'ils peuvent utiliser pour liquéfier le gaz naturel sans émission. L'Europe a besoin d'acheter du gaz. Voici le choix. Certains préfèrent que l'argent du gaz naturel finance les armes de guerre de Poutine. Moi, je veux que cet argent-là finance les chèques de paie pour Jean-Marc Tremblay, le soudeur du Saguenay. We will greenlight mining and manufacturing of minerals like lithium, cobalt, and copper to make electric cars and batteries. We will allow for technology to be unleashed here instead of our money to go to foreign dictatorships. And that also includes repatriating food production by standing with our farmers here at home.
I mean, he could have just said farmers, and a lot of farmers would have been like, farmers.
This government's high-energy taxes and proposed fertilizer cuts will only drive food production abroad to more polluting foreign jurisdictions, which would have to then burn fuel to ship, train, and...
I love that he's bringing up the fertilizer thing because it's a completely voluntary program, and it's just like, if you don't want to do it, you don't do it. It's very straightforward.
truck that food back to us. But didn't we learn how irresponsible it was to rely on the rest of the world to provide us with our essentials during COVID? A Poilievre government will repeal these taxes and fertilizer mandates to get out of the way and off the backs of our farmers so that we can grow affordable food, feed our people, and be the breadbasket of the world.
Yeah, I love how that's a really good point, Eric. I love how these conservatives are like, free trade is bad. And yet it was the conservatives who established
We will restore to First Nations more control of their land, money, and decision-making. And those communities that want to develop resources and invite commerce to fight poverty will have an ally rather than an obstacle in me. We must remove other unneeded barriers by axing the disastrous ArriveCan app.
What the hell is that? Hold on. A major candidate just said something, and I don't know what it is. ArriveCan app? What the fuck is this? A mobile app? Okay. You must use ArriveCan to provide mandatory travel public health information. This is a vax thing. This is a vax thing. Gotcha. All right.
And by ending the remaining COVID vaccine mandates to let people work and travel freely.
All right, and then he just said it. Okay, I could have just waited 10 seconds. Fucking God. Freedom.
Thank you.
Freedom. We need to sell ourselves.
We will bring hope. We will bring hope to doctors, nurses, engineers, and others who are immigrants to this country but are blocked from working in their professions for no other reason than that they come from another country. We'll team up with provinces to guarantee that within 60 days, an immigrant applying to work in their profession will get a yes or no based on their tested abilities, not based on where they come from.
Based on their tested abilities, not from where they've come from, right? So us white people are going to make a test for white people, and if the rest of you do well on it, you can participate, I suppose.
We will back up 30,000 small study loans for those in need of time off work to study up to the Canadian standard. Enough talking, remove the gatekeepers to get more doctors, more nurses, more engineers, and more inflation-proof paychecks for our brilliant immigrants.
Yep, if you pass the whiteness test, that's right.
We will restore the hope of safe streets, a hope that has turned into fear in all too many places after killings in Vancouver, Montreal, Toronto, and most recently, Saskatchewan. Weakened laws allow chronic and violent reoffenders out of prison early at great danger to our people.
Lock them
Instead of spending a fortune targeting licensed and law-abiding, trained and tested firearms owners, conservatives will bolster the laws, bolster the borders, and put the real criminals in jail.
Yeah, that's straight up fascist rhetoric, right? That's straight up fascist rhetoric right there, where he's just like, criminals need to be criminalized in criminal crimes. And we gotta lock up the borders and put up people and get more guns in the hands of good white Christians. Fucking brutal. Pierre has been horribly racist against indigenous people. Yeah, he refused to take back his comment of referring to them as tar people. Also, he said at one time, this circulated, I saw it over the weekend, it was circulating, his comment that indigenous people just need to join the workforce. They don't need like a handout from the government in terms of, not, the word isn't reconciliation, it's restitution, right? So, and it's like, I actually think that Harper was not that racist against the indigenous people. I think that Harper's racism against the indigenous people was more of the kind of like banal sort of general wash of racism that comes out of the white evangelical community. Like, Harper was the guy who started the Truth and Reconciliation movement, right? Like, conservatives will point this out, that when the Truth and Reconciliation, when Idle No More, when all of these kind of guys, it was Harper that went and did those ceremonies and did that kind of stuff and kicked off all this legislation, right? I think that Pierre Poilievre is straight up racist. Like, straight up. And racist in a way that I don't think he can walk back from. Like, it's like... It's similar to when Andrew Scheer compared gay people to dogs, right? Like, he's got that kind of a racism where I think he does genuinely have disdain, you know? Like, I don't think that Harper has disdain for indigenous people. I do think that Pierre Poilievre has disdain. Or, given some of the comments he said, like, you'd have to have disdain for First Nations people. Dude, Z, John, he's our man. If he can't do it, Lenin will rise from the grave to lead us. Dude, please let that happen. Please. I will absolutely become a necromancer if it means that the ghost that I raised from the dead is Lenin. Let's go, man. Lenin would know exactly what to do right fucking now. Although I bet you Lenin would come back and just be like, shit's fucked, bro. Shit's fucked.
Et nous redonnerons de l'espoir aux Québécois afin qu'ils puissent reprendre le contrôle de leurs décisions et de leur vie, au lieu d'être contrôlés par un gouvernement centralisateur et woke à Ottawa. Vous savez,
He said it. He said the woke.
Vous savez, la langue française m'occupe une place toute spéciale dans mon cœur. Mon père, qui a des origines canadiennes françaises et qui vient d'un village francescois, m'a transmis l'importance de préserver le français dès mon plus jeune âge. En grandissant à Calgary, malheureusement, j'avais trop peu d'occasions de le parler. Donc, j'ai beaucoup de travail à faire. Maintenant, je continue de perfectionner cette langue que j'aime, langue fondatrice de notre pays. Avec mon épouse, une Montréalaise, nous transmettons à notre tour à nos enfants qui vont dans les garderies francophones. Nos petits-enfants, Baby Cruz et Valentina, ils auront la langue française comme première langue. La deuxième langue, évidemment, espagnol. Et après ça, troisième langue.
Tinker, dude. Okay, Tinker, if you're going to be a CIA asset in the chat, okay, you got to be more subtle than this, all right? I'm just going to let you know. We are high-level professional CIA sniff-outers, right? We sniff out the CIA right away. And if you're gonna be in the chat saying things like capitalism's here to stay, right? Could you at least add in some like USA chanting? Could you at least be like USA, USA, right? Can you do us that favor, right? So get some American flag emojis, you know, an eagle, right? It'd be really great if you could just like really sprinkle that shit in there, okay, bud? Yeah, right. You were the one that was defending the effectiveness of drones. You're like, hello there, fellow communists. Oh man, I gotta tell you, Tinker, if you end up being CIA, I'll be fucking flattered. I'll be very, very flattered. Yeah, and DM actually does put the checkmate position, if you ask me. Capitalism isn't here to stay. Capitalism is collapsing. We're headed to feudalism. Like, capitalism's not where we're going. We're going to feudalism. And you want to have a maid program enact while we're in the middle of a feudal society? Okay. Okay. Yeah, oh yeah, for sure capitalism's going away, dude. Capitalism, you could make the argument capitalism's already gone away. That we're already in an oligarchy. Like, we're already in an oligarchy and we're descending towards feudalism, right? Like, for fuck's sake, a queen just died and we're all supposed to be like, oh, and if you actually say, like, hey, she was kind of a bitch, everybody's like, boo, right? No, see, you keep saying that, like, where are the Bolsheviks? Like, but we're saying, no, dude, it's going the other way. It's going the other direction, right? Capitalism came from somewhere. It came from feudalism. It can go back to feudalism. We're going to feudalism, baby. Feudalism. 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 King Bezos. King Gates, right? All hail the Lord of the Manor, right?
L'anglais. Je vais aller plus loin en parlant du Québec. Je dirais que les conservateurs de partout au pays ont beaucoup d'apprendre des Québécois. Les Québécois défendent leur patrimoine, leur culture et leur langue. Ils ne s'excusent pas. La nation québécoise tient tête au wokisme. Mon gouvernement ne va pas se mettre le nez dans tout. Un État fédéral plus petit va faire grandir des citoyens du Québec et du Canada. Small government makes for big citizens who own their homes, build their dreams, raise their families, look out for their neighbors, and earn powerful paychecks and savings free from inflation and overtaxation. We will restore Canada's promise in a country where it doesn't matter who you love, or if your name is Smith or Singh, Martin or Mohammed, Chang or Charles. A country where the dreamer, the farmer, the worker, the entrepreneur, the survivor, the fighter, the ones who get knocked down but keep getting back up and keep going can achieve their purpose. A country where the son of a teenage mother adopted by two teachers can dare to run for Prime Minister of Canada.
See what he did there? Right? See what he did there? He brought it back to the fact he's the son of two teachers. Right? He's not a career politician.
In the words of the great Canadian Prime Minister John Diefenbaker, I am a Canadian, free to speak without fear, free to worship God in my own way, free to stand for what I think right, free to oppose what I believe wrong, free to choose those who shall govern my country. This heritage of freedom I pledge to uphold for myself and all of mankind. Merci beaucoup. Thank you very much.
Freedom. I think it's very effective speech, eh? Like, what an effective speech. I think that people are going to love this guy. I'm honest. Honestly. No, Tinker. Why are you being a Debbie Downer in chat? You're Mr. Tinker in there just being like, guys, capitalism's not going away, you know. Capitalism's going away, and we should be It's not my mood right now, bud. I'm in a real good mood. I'm in a real good mood today, right? I'm on my Friday, finish all my work. I got some drinks in the fridge. I asked a lady out, and she said yes. Yeah. No, I'm not. I don't want to dismiss you, Tinker, but I am just letting you know, right? You're being kind of a buzzkill, bro. I love you, bud. Like, no, I mean, you're right. Like, these are the forces that are in play. And it's far more likely that there will be a decline in a very serious kind of a way, and that we will be dealing with the decline as it occurs, right? And what we are setting up here is something of a safe space, right? We're setting up something of a safe space so that people can find us, and find like-minded individuals and find people who can make sense of what's happening and make sense of the decline, right? Make sense of the decline. Now, radio, keep it nice. Keep it nice. I'm somewhat enamored with her, in fact. I hope things go very well between the two of us. Yes. Look, if I just wanted to get laid, I could go get laid. I think she's very nice. Anyway, yes, radio. This is a family show. Thank you very much. Yeah, I'll need it, bud. I absolutely will need it, dude. I absolutely will need it. I'm in that moment of like, how am I gonna fuck this up? That's what I'm sitting here being like, how the fuck am I gonna fuck this up? That's what I'm saying to myself all the time. I'm definitely gonna fuck this up, right? Wayne is just slapping it down. The West has the most to unpack since they're the ones who have benefited the most since things have gone since the transatlantic slave trade and colonialism. So of course people from there would be the slowest to realize the destruction. I think that's exactly right, Wayne. Right? And I really do think that right now the West is still kind of riding high because we're still like, we're like on the rocket being like, yeah, USA, right? And we I have words that are coming out of my mouth, I'm sure, and we're gonna have to get slapped a bit. We're gonna have to experience some real fucked up shit. Like, things are gonna have to get fucking real for North America and Westerners generally to start saying, like, is it us? Because we're not even asking that question, right? Like, we're Westerners are literally saying, we're the greatest, whatever, we're awesome, look at how awesome everything is, we're so awesome, fuck you, everything's great, right? That's where we're at. Like, we're not even trying to look around and say, is it us? Are we the problem? Are we causing problems for ourselves? Are we generating crises? Are we doing any of that? And so we're going to have to experience something a bit more serious. And I mean, if you ask me, we've got serious things coming, right? We've got very serious things coming that may trigger these sorts of questions. But until then, oddity, how would you just go get laid? Oddity. I'll never tell. All right. Here's Trudeau's commentary. It's only 2 minutes, so we don't need to listen. But really, remember what you just listened to, right? Like, give you a piece of it, right? Right?
But that hope has melted into worry.
Right? So that's that. Now listen to Trudeau.
Our job as a government is to build an economy where everyone is ready to thrive in a net zero world. An economy where everyone have real opportunities for meaningful work. An economy where people can count on their neighbors, on their communities.
Doesn't he just seem disingenuous? Doesn't he just sound disingenuous? Baldy McNose hair. You.
And yes, on their governments, to have their backs through difficult times in the present and into the future.
It just sounds like air coming out of his mouth. Like he's just talking like, I just am just gonna talk like this. To do this,
we all need to work together. Now is not the time for politicians to exploit fears and to pit people one against the other.
I love that. It's not the time for politicians to pit people one against the other, because that's for capitalism to do, baby. That's what capitalism does every single fucking day of your life. Right? Capitalism pits you against each other every single day of your fucking life. I know. Yeah, I completely agree with you, DM. Like, he just looks like a turd box now. Like, he doesn't sound... fake is the word. It's an act. It looks like an act. It sounds like an act. It doesn't seem genuine, and you can see through it. Right? And I think more and more people are seeing through it. Right? Like this alone. Like, it just seems so fucking false and phony.
As you all know, The Conservative Party...
Like, his little smiles and smirks that he does seem practiced. They seem practiced. Like, it doesn't sound like he's speaking from his heart. It doesn't sound like he's speaking from his fucking balls. It doesn't sound like he's actually concerned about anything, because he's not. Because he remains untouched by these fucking crises that his fucking economy is generating, right? It sounds like he's reading from a cue card, and that the words are just coming out of his mouth, and he doesn't care about them. He doesn't care that he's phoning it in, right? Like, he's not connected to any of this. He's literally detached. And you can see it. You can see it in the way he talks, right? These little fake little smiles, these little phony little nods and winks that he does.
A new leader over the weekend. I want to congratulate Mr. Poilievre for becoming the leader of His Majesty's loyal opposition. We've been making every effort to work with all parliamentarians, and we will continue to do so. But this doesn't mean that we're not going to be calling out...
Look at the way he moves,
highly questionable, reckless economic ideas. What Canadians need is responsible leadership.
Look, this looks like this is being played by fucking James Kirk. Right? Let's play that one line back again. You tell me that doesn't sound like fucking Captain Kirk when he says this
highly
shit.
Questionable,
right?
Reckless economic ideas. What Canadians need is responsible leadership. Buzzwords, dog whistles, and careless attacks don't add up to a plan for Canadians. Attacking the institutions that make our society fair, safe, and free is not responsible leadership. Telling people they can opt out of inflation by investing their savings in volatile cryptocurrencies is not responsible leadership.
That's a check mark for them. Yeah.
By the way, anyone who followed that advice would have seen their life savings destroyed.
Yeah,
fighting against vaccines that saved millions of lives.
Gone, good to see you.
That's not responsible leadership.
He sounds like sugar-free whipped
opposing the support and investments that have helped save jobs, businesses, and families during the pandemic. That's not responsible leadership.
Oh, Adam, if you're trying to put links in the chat, it's gonna censor it. Okay. So you guys seemed really... Who's this handsome devil right here? Who's this handsome guy? Loving this guy right here. What a handsome devil. All right. Okay. Let's get into this. Because I'm actually curious about this myself. Like, I view it a little bit more like a curiosity. It boils down to specific groups, blah, blah, blah. Okay, here we go. This is from Adam. World Economic Forum. This is from April 1st, 2021. There he is, right? This is from the World Economic Forum. Senior opposition critic for finance, the National Capital Commission, Conservative Party of Canada. So they've got him on the list, right? They've got him on the list. It's kind of weak, honestly. Kind of weak. Like, I'm not. I don't actually care about this. Is the problem, right? I'm never gonna take like a big strong position. This is a bit more interesting, where like he shook the hand of a far right extremist, right? And when the story broke, I was like, yeah, he shakes a lot of hands, right? He doesn't know everybody he shakes hands with. And just because they caught him in a picture, this happens every fucking cycle and every election, right? He shook hands with someone. And I'm like, I don't care. But it's that he kind of turned around and like he ignores the call to disavow far-right extremist, right? He doesn't, once he finds out who he is, he's not like, oh, my bad. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? I don't know. Oh yeah, make sure you're on live chat. Make sure you're on live chat. The euthanasia laws. Yeah, this is from Major. This was I read this one on the site. This is a very disturbing story, right? This one's for you, Tinker, right? That like again, like I feel like your position is completely understandable, but we're right to mention the troubles, right? Yeah, I think that's exactly right, Adam. Like that's exactly right. It's not as if PP has denounced being part of the WEF and only did so when it started to become an issue with his base. Like, let's not fool ourselves. I think that's exactly right. That he is distancing himself from the WEF, right? His connection to the WEF in the first place was fairly tenuous, right? Like, just because they've got him on the website, like, you could literally say that, like, that's just the WEF getting ahead of themselves, right? If I was Pierre Poilievre, that's what I would say. Be like, yeah, they put me on the website. They're trying to get everybody involved, so they just preemptively put people on the website, right? And then as I start to get in there and blah blah blah, wonky wonky wonk, right? Like that's 100% what I would have him say if I was advising him. And like, so how deep is his connection to the WEF? Like really? Like how deep is it actually? You know, does anybody even know if he even has gone to any of these events? Has he even shown up? Like, like we know that Trudeau, like if you're one of the guys that are actually like a WEF, like let's fucking ring the bell kind of guys, like Trudeau has gone. He's spoken at the thing, right? What's it? Klaus Schwab has said of Trudeau that we have penetrated the council or the House of Commons, like. Penetrated is the word, right? Penetrated is the word, right? I don't know. I think he's doing the right thing because his base is very conspiracy-minded, right? Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Tinker. I think that kind of nails it, my feeling on it. It's like, so what if he's not part of the WF? The guy literally said in his speech, we should be doing more tar sands. Right? Like, exactly. Right? Like, we're all looking over here at the, like, this kind of sinister Klaus Schwab. And don't get me wrong, like, Klaus Schwab looks like a fucking vampire, right? Like, he looks like a vampire that is like 1,000 years old, right? Like, this is the picture, for sure, right? If a turtle became a vampire, it would be Klaus Schwab. He looks like Nosferatu, straight up. Like, straight. You can see it now, right? Like, just take the glasses off of him, right? And give him the crazy face, and he's there. You wouldn't even need to put any makeup on him. He's already there. And and we're all looking at this guy and this World Economic Forum for being like, this is the Machiavellian planning organization, the beating heart. Meanwhile, like, our politicians are literally standing up in front of us and being like, yeah, we're gonna keep polluting and destroy the place. They just say it like they're Milhouse. So we're all just like, yeah, I guess that's normal, right? We're all expecting them to come out and be like, that's our expectation. And instead, they're just going like, yeah, it'll be great. We'll destroy ourselves. Ha-ha! For Canada! Dr. Evil. He kind of looks like Dr. Evil, doesn't he? Right? Come on, Dr. Evil. It's a little bit. No, it's not. No, I recant. Dr. Evil's not the right choice. Nah, not close. Not close. Nosferatu. For sure. Like, Nosferatu, Klaus Schwab. Nosferatu, Klaus Schwab. Like, he's right there, guys. He's right fucking there. Yeah, that's exactly it. His climate change rhetoric is just a joke. He said, we're going to focus on technology. We're going to focus on technology instead of taxes, right? So he's just attacking taxes. And the technology aspect is going to be like, yeah, we're just going to invest in carbon capture, right? Or nuclear, or something like that, right? Like, it's just going to be a far-fetched sort of idea that's not going to manifest into anything, right? Go away. So it's just like, womp, 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 womp. I got to tell you, based on that speech that I just saw from him, he's the next Prime Minister of Canada. Like, Trudeau is not going to be able to mount a successful defense against that. Like, he's not. Pierre Poilievre's rhetoric is very strong. His position is very tight. Consistently conservative, right? It's like he hasn't really changed his position at all, right? Like he's changed his rhetoric and effectively intertwined the rhetoric of populists, like I feel your pain, kind of Clinton-esque, like I feel your pain suffering, with conservative talking points, but hasn't really offered any new solutions or offered anything that's different from what conservatives usually offer. But people are so disenfranchised and so willing to and open to listen to a new voice. I think Pierre Poilievre is going to be very, very, very effective. Like, and the biggest reason why Trudeau can't actually mount a successful attack, or a successful defense, rather, against this rhetoric, is that Trudeau is also attempting to protect the same people that Pierre Poilievre is attempting to protect, right? Pierre Poilievre deflects onto the government to deflect away from the oligarchy. Well, Trudeau can't necessarily put the auspice back onto the oligarchy, can he? So he's got to try and find a deflection of his own. And he doesn't want that deflection to be government and government spending, right? That's not his brand or what he says. And so his deflection is going to be, world events and internationalism. Well, Pierre Poilievre has a response to that. Nationalism, right? That if Trudeau's only defense to shit's gotten crazy because of internationalism, well, then Pierre Poilievre's slam dunk response to this is going to be, we need to find nationalist solutions, right? That's absolutely going to play. Trudeau does not have a defense, right? Trudeau doesn't have something that he can go to anymore because his position is weak. Nationalism is stronger than internationalism. It simply is. People instinctively believe that nationalism is the way to go, as opposed to internationalism. And when it comes down to it, I think people are going to be swayed by Poilievre, right? And also, just frankly, I think that he's very genuine. He's just very genuine. He sounds genuine. He sounds like he's telling the truth. He sounds like he believes what he says. And Trudeau, I think, is just losing the thread. He's just losing the energy. Trudeau's revealing through his through the way he speaks and the way he talks that he doesn't really believe what he says. The word is globalism. That's the word the conservatives use. Internationalism sounds silly. Yeah, I know, but it's what it is. But Anemone, I'm trying to be helpful, Anemone. Sometimes words hurt, Sometimes words hurt. No, it's fine. Globalism. But yeah, it's the same kind of thing, and that's how it will be communicated about, right? That Trudeau is in the pocket of the global elites, right? That's where this WEF thing is fairly helpful for Poilievre, right? And we're gonna make Canada strong for Canada, right? Oh, excuse me. So sorry. Yeah, I mean, come on. Like, a politician that wants it both ways? What? I've never... A two-faced politician, Tinker. What? By the way, I recently learned the political leaning of Climate Town YouTube channel. Yeah, he basically advocates that we should just arrest your politician, and that's how we're going to change problem. I mean, that makes him a little bit stronger than a liberal. I haven't decided where Climate Town... I like Climate Town. The reason why I like Climate Town is because he's so well researched. That's really the truth. Like, even if it did turn out that he was like an incremental reform will save the day. Like, even if that's what he was standing on, he's so well researched and he's so well sourced that you gotta listen to him. You can't just dismiss him, right? Like, I find him to be extremely useful. And, like, if he's walking around saying we should arrest these politicians and these fucking climate frauds, then I'm like, yeah, I'm for that. Let's go, right? Oh, harass, not arrest. Yeah. I mean, this is, like, I was thinking the other day, like, it's good to have goals for this channel. Like, what would be a goal for this channel, right? And a big reason why I don't reach out to other people and talk to them very often is because it seems to either turn into, like, a circle jerk where we're just kind of agreeing with one another, or it's just, like, kind of a babble fest of, like, oh, you literally don't know anything and you think you do, right? And so I either have to, like, teach someone something and teach an unwilling student, right? Or we're just kind of jerking each other off, right? And I don't know if that's that interesting. It's certainly not interesting for me, right? So I've been thinking, like, when would I reach out to somebody? When would I reach out to somebody? And I think I figured it out. I would love to reach out to people and start asking them, when do you think it's appropriate to revolt? That's what I would really want to ask. When do you think it's appropriate to revolt? When do you think revolution is necessary? Right? And I would love to ask that question to someone like Sam Cedar, for example. I started thinking this way. Here, hold on. I'm going to pause this thought. We'll go back to it. Okay.
Here we go for today's
number. I saw I had
number.
17 fucking people
It's
in the chat.
September 12.
Let's go. 17 people.
2022.
I expect 17 numbers.
10 balls.
17 numbers.
Each ball
I'm rooting for
has
you,
a
Baldy
number.
McNose hair. 69. It's coming
Numbers
this time,
1
buddy.
through 10.
It's coming. It's coming. It's coming.
Swirl
Yeah, peaceful
the numbers.
revolution. Peaceful revolution. Hey, we're gonna have a revolution.
Pick a
baby.
number.
8. 8. I'm with an 8.
Today's number is
Not so few numbers. 5.
5.
Major. Major gets it. May the energy of David Lynch carry into your life. May something esoteric and unusual happen to you, making you go, that's a bit strange. And then days later, may you piece it together and go, oh yeah, okay. Channel goal. Get rid of the folks that think PP is better than Trudeau. Libs and cons are enemy of Earth, obviously, but cons are the worst. Get real. One thing I will say about the PP people, right, is that I actually think that they're a little bit further ahead than conservatives and liberals are, because at least they're willing to admit something's gone wrong. Like, a big reason why Pierre Poilievre is standing in front of us talking the way he's talking is because of the People's Party, right? That the People's Party is like, shit's fucked up. Like, shit's fucked up. We cannot, you can't honestly stand in front of us and tell us that everything's okay, right? You can't honestly stand in front of us and say that everything's fine and that this is working. And if you are going to stand in front of us and say this, then we're going to make our own party and we're getting the fuck out of here, right? And they did. And they did, right? And so it essentially forces someone like Pierre Poilievre to be like, oh, we should actually admit that there's a problem. We should actually say there's something going wrong. And Pierre Poilievre has very successfully and very adeptly managed to bring all of that I feel your pain stuff and pin it back onto classic conservative issues, right? And so I sympathize a lot with the People's Party people. I do. Because, like, first of all, I grew up with those people, right? So the PPC push that's being ahead of the liberals, that does not compute. Well, because the liberals don't admit there's a problem, right? They just don't admit that there's a problem. Like, I don't really care about this left-right dynamic. Like, the left-right thing, I don't really care. Like, to me, it's looking up material conditions, right? And so, yes, the People's Party is ahead of the Conservatives and ahead of the Liberals in regards to acknowledging the material conditions of the populace, right? Which is what I'm concerned about primarily. I don't, left or right, it's almost irrelevant to me, right? Like, as far as I'm concerned, like, the Liberals and the Conservatives and the NDP are kind of stacked on top of one another, still kind of jerking off the corpse of capitalism, right? And, yeah, I mean, I can't really respond to that anonymity. Correct. Correct. Like, there's, we're dealing with a lot. Like, we're dealing with a lot. And but the reason why you're seeing Pierre Poilievre talk the way he's talking is because of the People's Party of Canada. And the reason why he's likely going to be the next prime minister is because of that pivot, right? So here's an interesting point. The Liberals flooded the country with even more capitalist slaves, immigrants, international students, temporary foreign workers. That's why People's Party showed up. There's a bit of that, yeah. I think a bust of Lenin is better than Trudeau. I think a paper bag with the word with the words "fuck capitalism" on it is better than Trudeau. I think an empty paper bag with a smiley face on it is probably better than Trudeau, right? Yeah, what's interesting, right, is like this is why I don't think the accusations of Pierre Poilievre being a far-right kind of a person are going to stick. Because they're going to try this, and they are trying it. They're trying to peg Pierre Poilievre as a far-right kind of a guy. And it's not going to stick. And that's the reason why. Because he's not playing the immigrants are coming to steal your job game. Right? He had his opportunity right there to play that game, and he didn't. Right? Yeah. Yeah, the far-right element is scary as shit, Anemone? Like, that's a real hard element, right? Like, that's a real fucking hard element to deal with. Are the, like, real far-right guys. Like, the guys that go after Keffels, right? Like, those people. Like, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. I can't imagine actually, like, hating someone so much that you're actually going to go out of your way to cause them physical problems. Like, it's incredible to me. It's incredible to me. Like, I can get into my headspace this idea of, like, oh, they don't look like I do, and so I'm suspicious of them, and, like, all that kind of stuff. But then to take the next step into just, like, let's round them up and that kind of shit, it's crazy. Like, what are you even fucking talking about? Think about how much energy that would take. Think about how much effort that shit takes. Right? That's crazy to me. It's unbelievable. Heard she's in Belfast now. Hope she's safe. Yeah, she got doxxed again while in Belfast, last I heard. So it's just crazy to me, man. Like, what the fuck are they... Why? Why? Like, it's just, these people are losers. Losers. Adam, are you in live chat? That might be what's happening to you, bud. You also have to get into live chat. There's this top chat, and you can see, like, you saw how some stuff disappeared, and then you can go to live chat, and then that pops it all back up. Right? That might be what's happening to you. It's stupid. I hate it. I think that's dumb, but that's real. Speaking of things that are stupid and dumb, but certainly real, the rice capital of California is now just a wasteland. Satellite images show how bad it is. Capitalism's just a Chinese hoax, though. Or, wouldn't that be great? Capitalism's a Chinese hoax. Climate change. Just Chinese hoax. Normally by September, you drive north from Sacramento on Interstate 5. Showcases vast stretches of flooded rice fields on both sides. Farms bustling with tractors and workers preparing for fall harvest. Not this year, said Kurt Reichter, a third-generation rice farmer in Kalusia, the rice capital of California, where the local economy relies heavily on agriculture. It is now just a wasteland, he said. As drought endures for a third year with record-breaking temperatures and diminishing water supplies, more than half of California's rice fields are estimated to be left barren without harvest. About 300,000 out of the 550,000 or so in reported acres. Provisional data from the U.S. Department of Agriculture shows. This year, rice is estimated to account for just 2% of total planted acres across the state. The Sacramento River Valley is among the top producers of rice, an important staple in the United States, second only to the Grand Prairie in Arkansas. Rice crops contribute more than $5 billion a year and tens of thousands of jobs to California's economy, according to the California Rice Commission. Much of the sushi rice consumed in the U.S. is grown here. The dramatic reduction in rice acreage will translate to a loss of revenue of an estimated $500 million, about 40% which will be covered by federal crop insurance, according to UC Davis agricultural economist Aaron Smith. But one side of the valley is faring decidedly better than the other. Here's a great picture of it. September 2001, September 2002. Oh yeah, it's one of these. It's one of these. Capitalism. Chinese hoax. Totally a Chinese hoax, guys. Everything's completely fine. Everything's completely fine. Camera 1. Camera 2. Have a good one, Radio Halifax, bud. Have a good one, Tinker. Camera 1. Yep, CIA, MIA, you got it. MI6. Camera 1. Camera 2. Camera 1. West of the Sacramento River in Kaluga County, many rice fields look abandoned, Rector said, with sprawling patches of dirt clods with dryland weeds growing atop, which signal trouble not only for the farmers and their workers, but the migratory birds that travel to and feed in those fields. Any moisture has been sucked dry by this year's scorching heat, he added. Meanwhile, in Butte County, lush green fields can be seen from space, as shown in the imagery above from the European Space Agency's Sentinel satellite. Butte County farmers actually planted slightly more acres of rice than last year. The difference is the source of water, said Lewis. Colonel August Willich. Good to see you, sir. Don't know if I've ever seen you here before. Hope you're doing well. The difference is the source of water, said Louis Espino, a farm advisor at UCANRS Cooperatives Extension in Butte. East Side farmers depend on Lake Oroville, which was able to capture more water than Shasta Lake. Mocked! Where the hell have you been, bud? I feel like you just disappeared, my friend. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. That's nice. You're on vacation. Where are you, bud? How exciting. I'm all over the place today, guys. I'm all over the place. I'm scatterbrained like scatterbrained can be. The farmers in the Sacramento River watershed who rely on water from Shasta, including Reichter's family farm operation, are receiving somewhere between 0 and 18% of their water deliveries this year from government-run water projects. Farmers in Butte and Yuba counties receive far more, about 75%. Among the 6 top rice-producing counties in Sacramento River Valley, 4 are expected to plant significantly less than last year. Only Butte and Yuba remain relatively unscathed by the scorching drought. Like rice planting acreage in California 2001 and 2022, a percentage change in Kaluga, minus 73%, in Glen, minus 66%, in Sutter, minus 33%, Yolo, minus 33%. Yuba had an increase of 8%, Butte increase of 10%. The picture looks most grim for Kaluga, a county of about 21,000 people, where the data shows some 120,000 acres of rice land is estimated to remain unplanted. The impacts of drought have been devastating and far-reaching, Reichter of Kaluga said. It's been as ugly as we anticipated it could be, he said. Of the 5,000 or so acres in his family farm operation, where he is the vice president, just 1,300 acres have been planted this year. The rest remains barren. The Richter farms have been able to keep their full-time staff, but won't be hiring any seasonable labor this year, nor any subcontractors, the farm said. We just don't have anything for them to do. Rice will likely rebound again once this drought ends, but this year's massive reduction feels like a harbinger of tough times ahead for California rice, Smith, the UC Davis agricultural economist, wrote in his August analysis. But when will the drought end? Will there be enough water? These questions remain unanswered. With each passing day of drought, including more anxiety about the days ahead, Richter said, there's a dark, metaphorical cloud hanging over our heads that we're going to have another short or non-winter, Richter said. It's weighing heavily on everyone's minds, he added. Crop insurance won't last forever, he said. There are limits to how much can be claimed. His family is considering planting non-rice winter crops to make up for some of the loss, as well as conducting research trials to figure out how to grow rice with less water. Unplanted croplands in California. Seeing it all over the state. Percentage change in prevented acres, right? It's the worst in Calusa, Butte. That's where we're focusing today. Down here in Kings, you got a part of that. If this drought continues for another year, Richter worries there won't be any water left for anyone. When there's no water to haggle over, then what? I don't think anyone knows, he said. Espino, the Butte-based farm advisor, said the options are limited for rice farmers in the Sacramento River Valley, and continued drought would likely result in only those with the economic capacity to withstand the financial swings brought forth by the drought remaining. But it's hard to predict what exactly will happen this winter, if there will be plentiful rain to nourish these lands once more. Nobody really knows what's going to happen, he said. The only thing we can do is keep positive and hope for rain. Oh, man. And of course, the issue with the hoping for rain is that rain is coming in big torrential downpours now, right? So you have an issue where rains come, but it's so much rain all at once that the land can't draw it in, right? That it's not the steady thrum that it actually needs. This is the scariest part of the climate thing, in my view. Like, the rising water is going to be catastrophic, right? The flooding, the storms, all of that's going to be catastrophic, absolutely. There's going to be a lot of disorder, a lot of discord, a lot of that kind of stuff. The famines, I don't think that our consumerist society, I don't think that our materialistic, hyper-focused on individual gain society is ready to do what's necessary when a famine strikes. I straight up don't think that we're ready for it. Take a look at what happened during COVID, right? That, like, when COVID hit, people, like, hoarded all kinds of shit. Toilet paper, for God's sakes. Remember that? Right? Remember that? We hoarded all of the fucking toilet paper for some reason. Look at this, man. This right here. It's just like the tail of the tape, right? Just like... just vicious. Just fucking vicious. And we're just like... so we're going to have to negotiate with one another. But how do you think those negotiations are actually going to look? Right? Do you think that they're going to be based on, like, communal support? Or do you think it's going to be one asshole hoarding all the resources? Right? How do you think capitalism is going to organize this? Right? It's going to be crazy. It's going to be absolutely fucking bonkers. Oof. And meanwhile, we're electing this chowderhead. Fucking Milhouse over here. Oh, yeah. So, taking a step down from the dramatic, right, into something a little bit softer, shall we say? Millennials want to live a soft life, and it's changing how they work. I simultaneously found this article to be condescending, but somehow accurate. So let's see what you guys think of it. There are some people who live to work. They relish being a hustler, grinding it out. They chortle at your 9-to-5 regimen, and they can't understand why anyone would be attracted to quiet quitting. I remember when we used to call those people workaholics, right? We used to say to those people, hey, slow down, bud. Then there are those who work only to live the life Instagram fabricates. They collect their paycheck and take it to Lisbon or Paris or Madrid, where they flood social media with images of all the experience their hard-earned cash bought them. But Darla Beach is part of a new ilk, who are out here just living to live. Life has changed a lot in the last 2 years, and many people are embracing a so-called soft life. A rejection of the struggle, stress, and anxiety that comes with working a traditional 9-to-5 career and spinning away your days on life's hamster wheel. Instead, living the soft life is about throwing yourself into joy and prioritizing the richness of experiences. In the midst of the pandemic, LaBeach was at a crossroads and decided it was time to make a dramatic change. After being laid off from his marketing job in New York City in spring 2021, he went to Mexico. He had been earning between $100,000 and $150,000 a year, but was stressed, disenchanted, and tired of living for something other than himself. It was very much F all this, LaBeach tells Fortune. He lost his job on a Tuesday, booked a flight on Wednesday, and by the end of the week he was sitting on a beach in Oaxaca, Mexico. He needed a break to breathe. Don't you love that they're following like a rich guy? Guy's making like $100,000 a year, and then he's just like, I'm gonna give it up and go lie on a beach in Mexico. It was while I was there that I realized I can do this in a sustainable way, LaBeach says. Do what? Be on a beach. Frolic. Just live. I realized, wow, I don't need to be in New York. I really leaned into the idea that if I need it, I'll figure it out. LaBeach, 31, splits his time between New York and Mexico nowadays. He's able to do so without spending more than $1,000 a month for rent in either city. When in Mexico, he primarily rents places via Airbnb, and he shares an apartment with a roommate in Brooklyn. He had some savings set aside when he opted to shift his focus away from work, and he received a severance package when he lost his job, though he says it was pretty insignificant. LaBeach says he doesn't worry about money, and admits that he's only fortunate enough to live this way now because he opted in to capitalism for so long. Right? This is like the classic, like, wow, follow these tips and you too could have a house at 25. Yeah, I just took money from my daddy. It's got that kind of vibe about it. Even though I like ostensibly kind of agree with the underpinning of the message. Money comes and money goes, and when I need money, I'm able to book projects, work, etc., so I don't let it stress me, LaBeach says. Since losing his job in 2020, he's developed a sort of work-at-will freelance career, doing marketing and strategy consulting. There are plenty of ways to make money, and I give myself credit for developing a diverse enough set of skills over the years in business, strategy, entertainment, service, travel, and more to make that happen. Basically what this guy is proving is how worthless the system of capital is, and how, like, pedantic and pointless it all is. Like, the guy literally shows up and does, like, marketing and strategy consulting. Like, fucking what? Like, fuck off. A shift away from... So he doesn't make anything. He doesn't create anything. He doesn't do anything. A shift away from traditional success. It takes having an existential conversation with yourself before reaching the point of pursuing a soft life, says New York University sociology professor Deidre Royster. The pandemic fast-tracked a lot of those conversations, but life, and what people value, was shifting even before everything shut down. The script for a good American life, for the American dream, has been completely flipped, Royster says. No longer is it simply a family of 4, settling down in the suburbs with a tiny home and a white picket fence. Royster, herself, a tenured professor at NYU, found herself pursuing a whim during the pandemic to follow her passion for interior design. She applied to the Pratt Institute and was granted a partial scholarship. In the 80s, people asked, how do we maximize? But now people are asking, what's the minimal amount I need to live a sustainable life? I love the idea, Royster says. LaBeach's experience in those first months in Mexico, while he recovered from burnout and a life in service to his career, made a few things very clear to him. Never again would I not make the trip, book the flight, eat the thing because of money. Needing money is not going to interrupt my need to live life, he says. It just sounds like a guy who has a lot of money. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to book the flight or do any of that because of money, because I have all this money. He's like many Americans who use the pandemic as an opportunity to disrupt their lives. The collective trauma of this worldwide tragedy allowed some to pump the brakes, turn into the skid, and realize that perhaps there was something more important in their lives than the stressing over whether they were living for their job hard enough. Quiet quitting, the internet's favorite workforce term of the moment, its distant cousin, lying flat, and soft life, have all popped up as symptoms of a shift away from the traditional expectations of what it looks like to be successful in America. Living a soft life doesn't necessarily mean you don't have a job, it just means your job is not your whole world. For LaBeach, embracing the soft life has meant becoming a staunch anti-capitalist. He says, when he moved to Mexico City, he got involved in local mutual aid. He says in connecting with his community there, he's come to understand that a lot of black people are moving to Mexico City without realizing we're gentrifiers. As the world initiates the pandemic's soft closing and people are finding new ways to return to life, Mexico City has become a haven for some Americans looking for a change, while they take full advantage of the work from anywhere era. The Mexican government recorded more than 5.3 million Americans flying into Mexican airports from January to May 2022. CNN recently reported. That's nearly 1 million more than the same period in 2019. LaBeach looked around at all the people coming to Mexico from the US, Canada, the UK, Brazil, and so on, and set out to form a new community of like-minded people. He and his friend and roommate, Raven Rodriguez, hosted dinners for black and brown expats and immigrants. He helped to amplify protests and the voices of local activists advocating for women's rights. Even if it were just his small community, he wanted to be sure they were getting involved. The rise of the soft life. The term soft life really picked up some steam among black women earlier this year. The cottage industry of advice, lifestyle hacks, and femininity within the YouTube vlogosphere is littered with videos, like how to live your best soft life, how I created a softer life for myself, and the truth about the soft life. All are geared towards black women. I feel like I've stepped into my era of living a soft life. Creator Courtney Daniela Boateng said in a video about the hard work that goes into living a soft life. I really invested in slowing down and detaching my self-worth or my productivity from these ideas of high levels of stress and just struggle. But many of these creators are painting a very opulent picture of the hashtag soft life. More Sophia Coppola, Marie Antoinette era version. Soft life, in the way that it's portrayed online, can often look like luxury and true levels of enjoyment, said Boateng in the video. However, there is a reality to living a soft life, which everyone in the real world needs to be exposed to, such as you need to work, you need to make money, life is not always roses. Friends and family often ask LaBeach how he affords to live the way he is. It's not like he has a nest egg funding his life. He's taken a $10 in, $20 out approach, he says, and it works for him. He booked commercials while living in Mexico. Last year, he appeared in a commercial. So he's a fucking commercial actor. What a fucking. Ugh. You see what I'm saying? Like, I understand the underlying thing, but, like, literally they're talking to, like, the most privileged people they can find. Right? Yeah, I'll just become a commercial actor. Yeah, I'll just go do that. Last year, he appeared in a commercial Van Duel run during NFL games. So they went and talked to a guy who has a commercial that's running in the middle of fucking NFL games. Yeah, what's your secret? Fucking being rich. That's his secret. And he even has a line. And that provided some extra income doing work he enjoys. He even does freelance while chilling on the beach, even sitting in the stands at the US Open. I have zero regrets, he says. Maybe I'll go back to a full-time job, and the only way I could at this point is because I know what it means to me to be in that space. I know I'm not there because I have to be. There are now stipulations and boundaries in place that allow me to live the life I want to live. Like, yeah, I was right. It has big, like, yeah, we got our house and all we had to do is use my dad's money vibes. It's like, why do they always have to ruin it? Like, why can't they go talk to somebody who's, like, legitimately poor? Like, why don't they come fucking talk to me? Right? Why aren't they fucking talking to somebody like me about, like, what it is to live, like, a quote-unquote soft life? Or to lie flat? Or to let it rot? Any of this kind of stuff, right? The reason why they don't come talk to me is because, like, I'm not going to give them this, like, floofy little, like, oh, I went and did, like, an acting gig. Like, I'm going to give them some hard fucking, I'm going to spit some facts. And they're going to be like, well, can't publish this. Fuck. Yeah, I love this. So we've been focusing a lot on Pierre Poilievre today. For good reason, right? He's the new leader of the Conservative Party. But here's a statement from CUPE, that's the Canadian Union of Public Employees, on Pierre Poilievre winning Conservative Party leadership. Statement from Mark Hancock, National President of the Canadian Union of Public Employees, on Pierre Poilievre winning the Conservative Party leadership. It's too bad that unlike Andrew Scheer, Pierre Poilievre does not hold American citizenship, because he would be right at home as governor of a state like Alabama. Pierre is a career politician who has been collecting a six-figure salary on the public's dime since he was 24, and he's spent every minute of his time in office fighting against fair wages, good pensions, and a better life for working people. He is not a worker, and he definitely doesn't get what it means to be a member of the working class. Pierre has spent his leadership campaign making the Conservative Party a cozier place for far-right extremists and conspiracy theorists in order to sell memberships. This isn't your parents' Conservative Party or even Stephen Harper's Conservative Party. It's now Pierre's Convoy Party of Canada. His leadership will be a disaster for working people in Canada. Straight up. That's the whole statement. No flowery language, no nothing. Just straight up, like, get fucked. Like, he might as well have just said, Dear Conservative Party of Canada, get fucked. Sincerely. Yeah, exactly, Compton. Imagine that. To be a staunch anti-capitalist, you have to be staggeringly privileged. Yeah. Capitalism just creating its own enemies wherever it goes. Yeah, anyway. Hundreds in Congress, law enforcement, and military are members of fascist groups. Here's a story that broke over the weekend. This is a fun one. Isn't it? This is going to be a good one. We're all going to have a good laugh about this one. Ha ha! Good to know that all of the fucking fascists are grouped up in military, right? Isn't this great? Right? The names of hundreds of U.S. law enforcement officers, elected officials, and military members appear on the leaked membership rolls of the Oath Keepers, an extremist group that's accused of playing a key role in the January 6th, 2021 insurrection at the U.S. Capitol, according to a report released this week. The Anti-Defamation League Center on Extremism poured over more than 38,000 names on leaked Oath Keepers membership lists and identified more than 370 people it believes currently work in law enforcement agencies, including police chiefs and sheriffs, and more than 100 people who are currently members of the military. It also identified more than 80 people who are running for or served in public office as of early August. The membership information was compiled into a database published by the Transparency Collective, Distributed Denial of Secrets. The data raises fresh concerns about the presence of extremists in law enforcement and the military who are tasked with enforcing laws and protecting the U.S. It's especially problematic for public servants to be associated with extremists at a time when lies about the 2020 election are fueling threats of violence against lawmakers and institutions. Even for those who claimed to have left the organization when it began to employ more aggressive tactics in 2014, it is important to remember that Oath Keepers have espoused extremism since their founding. And this fact was not enough to deter these individuals from signing up, the report says. The Oath Keepers, founded in 2009 by Stuart Rhodes, is a loosely organized conspiracy theory fueled group that recruits current and former military, police, and first responders. It asks its members to vow to defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, promotes the belief that the federal government is out to strip citizens of their civil liberties, and paints its followers as defenders against tyranny. More than 24 people associated with the Oath Keepers, including Rhodes, have been charged in connection with the January 6th attack. Rhodes and 4 other Oath Keeper members or associates are heading to trial this month on seditious conspiracy charges for what prosecutors have described as a weeks-long plot to keep then-President Donald Trump in power. Rhodes and the other Oath Keepers say that they are innocent and that there was no plan to attack the Capitol. Among the elected officials whose name appear on the membership list is South Dakota State Representative Phil Jensen, who won a June Republican primary in his bid for re-election. Jensen has told the press that he paid for a 1-year membership in 2014, but never received any Oath Keepers literature, attended any meetings, or renewed his membership. Jensen said he felt compelled to join because he believed in the oath that we took to support the U.S. Constitution and to defend it against enemies, foreign and domestic. He wouldn't say whether he now disavows the Oath Keepers, saying he doesn't have enough information about the group today. There are good people on both sides, right? Back in 2014, they appeared to be a pretty solid conservative group. I can't speak to them now, he said. I love it. They appeared to be a pretty solid conservative group. Yeah, I would say that fascists are a fairly solid conservative group. ADL said it found the names of at least 10 people who now work as police chiefs and 11 sheriffs. All of the police chiefs and sheriffs who responded to the AP said they no longer have any ties to the group. I don't even know what they are posting. I never get any updates, said Mike Hollinshead, sheriff of Idaho's Elmore County. I'm not paying dues or membership fees or anything. Hollinshead, a Republican, said he was campaigning for sheriff several years ago when voters asked him if he was familiar with the Oath Keepers. Hollinshead said he wanted to learn about the group and recalls paying for access to content on the Oath Keepers website, but that was the extent of his involvement. North Carolina State Representative Mike Clampett swore an oath to uphold the Constitution after the election in 2016 and again in 2020. But there's another pledge that Clampett said he's upholding to the Oath Keepers, a right-wing militant organization. Dozens of Oath Keepers have been arrested in connection to the January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol, some of them looking like a paramilitary group, wearing camo helmets and flak vests. But a list of more than 35,000 members of the Oath Keepers, obtained by an anonymous hacker and shared with pro-pub... Are they just repeating the article? I feel like they're just fucking repeating the article. Oh, it is. It's above article combined information from Associated Press. So they took 3 articles and jammed them together. I'm not reading all these fucking things. I'm not reading the whole fucking thing. Isn't this great? Isn't this wonderful? Isn't it absolutely fucking lovely that we have Congress members, law enforcement, military personnel, all part of the fucking Oath Keepers? Isn't that the greatest thing you've ever heard in your fucking life? Isn't that just the greatest fucking thing? What a time to be alive, man. Oh yeah, here's a good one. This is actually a nice, short and sweet. Research exposes pro-Western social media campaign manipulated by United States government. Research released recently has exposed years-long covert influence operations for promoting pro-Western narratives on social media platforms with the role of the U.S. government under scrutiny. These campaigns consistently advanced narratives promoting the interest of the United States and its allies, while opposing several other countries, according to the summary of a joint investigation conducted by Stanford University and Graphica, a social media analytics firm. In July and August 2022, Twitter and Meta, the parent company of Facebook and Instagram, removed 2 overlapping sets of accounts for violating their platform's terms of service. Twitter says the accounts fell foul of its policies on platform manipulation and spam, while Meta said the assets on its platforms engaged in coordinated inauthentic behavior. After taking down the assets, both platforms provided portions of the activity to Graphica and the Stanford Internet Observatory for further analysis. The investigation revealed an interconnected web of accounts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and 5 other social media platforms that used deceptive tactics to promote pro-Western narratives in the Middle East and Central Asia. The findings showed that the platform's data sets appeared to cover a series of covert campaigns over a period of almost 5 years, rather than one homogeneous operation. The accounts deployed in the campaign were said to have sometimes shared news articles from U.S. government-funded media outlets, such as Voice of America and its sister organization, Radio Free Europe, as well as links to websites sponsored by the United States military. Neither Twitter nor Meta has publicly attributed the activity to any entity or organization. Twitter listed the activity's presumptive countries of origins as the United States and Britain, while Meta said the country of origin was the United States. Twitter's data set provided to the SIO and Graphica covered nearly 300,000 tweets by 146 accounts between March 2012 and February 2022. These accounts included a behaviorally distinct activity set linked to the Trans-Regional Web Initiative, an overt U.S. government messaging campaign. The SIO Graphica research also showed the assets identified by Twitter and Meta created fake personas, posed as independent media outlets, leveraged memes and short-form videos, attempted to start hashtag campaigns, and launched online petitions. Specifically, the Central Asia group consisted of 12 Twitter accounts, 10 Facebook pages, 15 Facebook profiles, and 10 Instagram accounts, engaging in connected activity on Telegram, YouTube, and Russian social media platforms Vkontakte and Odnoklaskniki. Assets in this group heavily promoted narratives supported of the U.S. on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and Telegram, the investigation found. These posts primarily focused on U.S. support for Central Asian countries and their people, presenting Washington as a reliable economic partner that would curb the region's dependence on Russia, it said. Pentagon Press Secretary Air Force Brig General Pat Ryder told reporters last month that they would need to take a look at information that Facebook or Twitter may have. More broadly speaking, the United States military, as a matter of policy and operations, we do conduct military information support to operations around the world. He said, obviously I'm not going to talk about ongoing operations or particular tactics, techniques, and procedures, other than to say we operate within prescribed policy. The Guardian reported in as early as 2011 that the U.S. military was developing software that would let it secretly manipulate social media sites by using fake online personas to influence internet conversations and spread pro-American propaganda. USA, 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 USA. Like, how much longer until, the entire internet is just total fucking bullshit, right? How much longer until imperialism and capitalism just renders the entire internet fundamentally unusable for anything other than just like pornography and cat videos? Like, how much longer until that shit happens? That if you want to have like an actual, genuine, honest to God conversation, how much longer until the whole thing is just going to be completely full of fucking spooks? And how much longer until we have just a bot in chat pretending to be a person, right? Constantly spreading around demoralizing narratives, like, no hate to Tinker, but like, how much longer until there's somebody in the chat that's constantly just saying, like, oh, it's over, guys, why fight, you know, oh, it's too much, like, it's so overwhelming, like, and that's a robot that's just like on a repeat, just a repeat refrain of just like, oh, how could we possibly, it's too much, right? How much longer until tactics and strategies and things like this are just built into the fabric of the internet itself, so that it just renders the whole thing unusable? Like, that's what they're fucking doing. And we know they're doing it, right? We've got a report from Stanford that says they're doing it. Like, this is what we're paying for? This is what our money pays for? This is what our tax dollars go to? This is what our military gets up to? This is what the empire is doing? Right? But yeah, if you read 1984, it's really spooky about Russia, right? Like, hey. You know, guys, I know it's about a half hour early, but I think I am going to call it. I'm fucking tired. I'm exhausted. I need a good night's sleep. I worked a big, long one. I hope you guys are all doing really well out there. Thanks so much for showing up. Thanks so much for being here. You guys are really amazing, all of you. I'm truly blessed to have each and every one of you here. Always remember, each and every one of you is a quantum being, walking around in quantum energy. The billionaires are spending hundreds of billions of dollars in the hopes you'll never realize it. You'll just stay the good little commodity they need you to be. Rebel, revolt, repent. Good luck. We're gonna need it.